Hey guys, welcome back. This week, we're pulling one from the archive of the unpublished. A heli drop to the top of Rainbow Mountain in Whistler, BC, with which we closed our P&W road trip last summer. I had lost most of the footage of this ride after an SD card error, but with all this stay-at-home time, I fought the SD card and recovered a good chunk of the footage. This one was a dream come true to me, and I'm super stoked to take you along. You see, in addition to mountain biking, I love aviation. As a matter of fact, this is me practicing power-off stalls on a tiny Cessna 172 a long time ago. I never did graduate as a private pilot, but that seems like a topic for a different video. With the bikes mounted on a bike rack, which doesn't look that different to a regular hitch rack, just much beefier, we were off. While airplanes make intuitive sense to me, I find the complexity of helicopters mind-blowing. So in addition to digging the riding, I was stoked to just get to fly. The flight path that is taken is just the right length. You don't take a direct route, instead flying over some interesting scenery, but it's not enough to get you bored of what you're seeing. And in no time, you're way above the tree line, celebrating the oh-so-beautiful high alpine of British Columbia. With apparent extreme ease, the pilot sets down in the tiniest flat patch. Once a rotor has slowed down but not turned off, the person riding in front gets off and unloads the bikes for everyone. Rear seat passengers can get off as soon as the left side rack is unloaded. The last person to get off, in this case me, is tasked with closing the rear door. Which sounds super simple, but think of how many times you struggled to get that stupid minivan door to work properly. Well, this is the same, but with the rotor spinning a couple times a second above your head. After everyone is clear, the chopper goes on his way, leaving you with no option but to ride down. And if you're geeking out like me, you'll probably be giggling like a 5-year-old about the ride.
That was amazing. It's hard to describe how awesome it is. And I'm sure that video will not be able to capture the amazing feeling.
Okay then, it's time to make our way down. As always, I'd recommend you have trail forks with you as you're dropped off just off the trail.
Yeah, there's those little rock towers.
The initial traverse is marked with tiny handmade rock towers. Once you've spotted them, the route becomes more apparent, but it still goes over some mossy and rocky odd spots that may be confusing at times. We ended up crossing this snow patch because it had a track on it, but I'm pretty sure the real route was around it, as we ended up getting to a vertical rock which was a step up instead of a rideable section. The first part of this ride is without a doubt the most challenging. Trailforks has it rated as a double diamond, and I'd agree with it. Well, let me clarify on that. Most of this trail is, by Whistler standards, a single diamond.
Hush.
But it's full of committing sections which I think justify the double diamond rating.
Hell yeah.
If you're watching this and thinking, that doesn't really look all that steep, remember about the GoPro effect. That being said, if you're confidently riding single diamonds in the bike park, I'd say you can ride this. Just make sure to do it later in the trip to ensure that you've warmed up properly first.
Woohoo!
While the steep natural feeling terrain is a constant throughout this ride, the vegetation is ever changing. You get to ride from the high alpine into the deep forest in this one, typical of terrain at this latitude. I personally love that rate of change. As you lose elevation, the trees grow and become thicker, as if an indicator of how far you are along the route.
There's like a little rock point there. That's where we started. It's insane how much elevation we've lost. I can hear the chopper for another group that's coming in.
Not everything is slow steep tech. For one, I'm sure better riders can tackle all the steeps at faster speeds. And second, the trail does have some nice open stretches where you can relax. A bit. Don't let your guard down, because as tempting as it is to gaze into the amazing views, the easy stretches don't really last that much. In this particular section, you can hear my brakes and tires fighting with all they've got.
This is ridiculously steep. You have no idea.
And yes, I know letting go is always best, but it's not always easy to turn that fear switch off. To be honest, I was struggling with fatigue at this point. This was our 11th day in a row on the bike, cumulatively having ridden 195 miles, climbed 20,000, and descended 48,000 vert feet. As you can imagine, my riding wasn't at its finest.
Okay, stay in control. There we go. Pretty good.
And while some of these sections could have benefited from a pedal stroke or two, I just didn't have it in me anymore.
Oh my god, this is insane.
But even with the exhaustion, I was enjoying this ride so much, and that makes it extra special. In many ways, a Type 2 fun shuttle, which really isn't that common at all. Type 2 fun is usually associated with climbing. Anyhow, if you have the riding background for it, and you're wondering if this is worth the expense to do this ride, the answer is 100% yes. Once we were officially off Rainbow's End, we exited through Old Binties and Billy Epic, which led us to one final view spot over the Whistler Valley, where Whistler and Blackcomb Mountains, with their ski runs and bike parks, were clearly visible. The rest of the way down to the street is classic Whistler trails. In fact, the EWS 100 crew was there taping up the trails for the race that took place 1 week after this was filmed. I was hoping to do the EWS 100 this year, but with all the uncertainty that 2020 has brought, it's definitely a no-go. Who knows, maybe in 2021.
Well guys, there we go. That is the end of our route today. Now we just have to make it back to the car. That was an absolutely fantastic trail. Totally worth it. For a second there, I thought it was gonna be like, maybe the helicopter makes it awesome and the trail is just okay. But no, everything was freaking awesome. That is unfortunately our last ride here in Whistler. We still have one more day in Seattle, but truth be told, I am exhausted. I don't know if I can pull off another ride. So you may or may not see another video of the Seattle area next week. I'll let you know. Well guys, we'll see you for the next one. Happy riding. I really do love this bike. It's like you're so good to me. Yes, who's a good little bike?